Welcome, everybody. We'll go ahead and get started. We have several that are still flooding in here, but we'll go ahead out of time's sake and get started today. I am so excited to have some of these lovely forward-thinking individuals on this call today. I am Lacey Jungman with One Day, Senior Vice President of Client Success, and we are here today with Avamere Communities and Sherpa to talk about all things creative follow-up and video. So if you are finding yourself to be in a slump with creative follow-up ideas and you're looking for ways to really help more families recognize the benefits of change in a highly personalized way, video is certainly the way to do that. And we're going to talk with a few individuals from the home office level at Avamere Communities. And then we're going to talk to some individuals from the community level at Avamere Communities and their individual successes that they've seen leveraging video throughout the sales process. And we are also joined by Sherpa today as well. And we're going to cover all things related to what is creative follow-up, how do we use it effectively, why do we use it, and all and everything in between. So we're going to talk really about the success that we saw at Avamere, increasing overall move-ins by 31% in a short amount of time. And that's what we're here to talk about, is not only the what of the outcomes, but more importantly, the how, and how this was driven from the home office level and really executed so professionally and so well inside of the Avamere communities. So without further ado, I am going to go ahead and introduce a few of our panelists here today. So when I say your name, if you wouldn't mind just giving your classic wave so that we can put a face with the name. Thomas Kluter is the Chief Marketing Officer at Arete Living. The brands that he supports are Avamere Communities and Ovation Senior Living, and he's been in senior living for 13 years in a variety of different roles. He's been on the One Day Executive Advisory Board actually for quite some time here this year, and is also on the board of the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. He has recently been appointed, this is really important for everybody to know, recently been appointed the head coach of a 5-year-old girls soccer team.
Yep.
And what do you plan to do right now?
Yeah, we plan to win. I mean, we're going to dominate. No, we're going to have fun. There's 3 rules: have fun, and have fun. So first practice is tomorrow from our little girls. So very excited about this appointment.
I love it. We're sending you good vibes. Let's
Thank
go
you.
for the big W, okay? He just had a daughter go off to kindergarten and one off to primary school or preschool today. So a lot of changes happening over there in Thomas's world. And especially after seeing Top Gun 2, he really is considering another change, which is a career shift over to being a pilot, I think. So if we don't see him after today, we'll know where he went. But most of all, he just loves, as he says, partying with seniors. So welcome to the panel, Thomas. And Kevin, give us a wave. Kevin is a director of sales at Avamere Communities, and he has spent many years working in industries such as district manager in retail, as an assistant general manager for a multi-venue family entertainment center, and as area manager for the most flexible workspace company in the world. He came to Avamere in May of 2021, and it has increased occupancy, wait for it, from 70% to 100% in that time. That's a big shout out. He's also a One Day champion, a fan, and a convert. So we're going to hear from him as well to hear how he shifted his perspective on video. And Samantha has worked in senior living for 10 years. Caring for loved one with Alzheimer's shifted her focus, and she began supporting others going through the process. And I will add, does an amazing job at that. Helping families succeed and feel better about the choices they make for their loved ones has become a passion of hers. So happy to have you on our panel today. Thank you, Samantha. And last but certainly not least, my fellow Nebraskan. And Reed and I have known each other for so many years, like 15 years now, I think. Yeah. This is the first webinar that anybody's ever trusted us to be on together. So I think that's pretty
hopefully not the last.
Yeah, I was gonna say this may be groundbreaking and the last one that we do, but we'll give it a try. Reed has worked in senior living. He beat me at 18 years. So he's been in senior living for 18 years, the past 3 of which has been spent at Sherpa CRM as their national training director. Reed is truly an example of living out his dream, being a professional coach and a public speaker, all while working in his favorite industry, which is senior living. So excited to have Reed on the panel today, talking about Sherpa's perspective when it comes to creative follow-up and all things video as well. So let's go ahead and dive into this. Today, we're going to talk about what Avamere was able to do and see from outcomes by leveraging video. Avamere communities saw 43% lift in creative follow-up, 37% increase in tours, 31% move-ins, and 35% increase in deposits in just a 2-month window by just leveraging video. So if you're like me and you're thinking, my gosh, how does this happen? How on earth do they do this? It's a great time for you to sit back, take a couple notes, and learn from some of these experienced folks who have been able to put together not only how to leverage video, but implement it into the sales process to see gains. So let's go ahead and dive into what led Avamere into reinforcing video throughout their whole organization. So Thomas, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to pick on you a little bit. And
Sure.
It's not just because you're wearing a bow tie. I love the bow tie personally, but tell us why you decided to put such a concentrated effort on video for your sales team.
My daughter told me this morning I look like Blippi. January and February, to be honest, we all were excited for the new year, new calendar year to flip over, and we didn't get out of the gates like we expected. And so went to our partners at Sherpa one day and said, what do you guys see? What should we do more of? And 2 things came to mind: more time in the selling zone, more personalization of our approach. And so talking to Lacey, we really started discussing what should we do? And a contest kind of came to mind pretty quickly on getting the sales team re-energized. We started to see leads come pouring in, but we weren't getting really that quality time spent with them. And so we went out to this pretty simple approach on what it all would look like, and just, having, and I know Lacey, you're going to go through this in a second, but we really didn't want to, we didn't want to limit what we asked our team to do. We wanted to let them be creative, but we expected them to do even more videos than before. And as you just said, Lacey, the results went through the roof for us. So very exciting contest that we did.
I love that. Yes. And from the ownership perspective, as the home office level associate, right, leading and spearheading this, that was probably most important to figure out where and when you decided to implement the videos. So where did you see most success in implementing videos through the sales process?
Yeah, we started showing a lot of examples. And again, we didn't want to pigeonhole for all 28 of our sales directors where and how exactly, but we showed a lot of examples of pre-tour, post-tour, and then just personalized creative follow-up. And those are really the 3 ways that we started showing examples from one day across the country, and then showing our own internal examples of what was really working for us. And it started springboarding more and more just action in the selling zone that we were hoping for.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Very good. So you mentioned creative follow-up, which is a perfect segue into our question for Reed. I mean, I couldn't have planned this better if I wrote the script. So Reed, tell us a little bit about the importance of creative follow-up. Maybe even start with what creative follow-up is for those who haven't heard of it or don't understand what it is, and how it can be implemented in the sales process to see gains.
Yeah. So, creative follow-up, I think sometimes people get caught up in that word creative, and they think, oh my God, they think one of 2 things is what we hear a lot. They either think I've got to have this just unbelievable Pinterest worthy follow-up thing that I've got to put all this money and time and effort into to really make myself stand out. One of the things I constantly tell teams is that it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to necessarily be a creative person. And I would say myself, I'm not necessarily the most creative person, but I am a thoughtful person. Mm-hmm. And so I think that when you take that word, if you were to flip that to say creative follow-up to thoughtful follow-up, I think that goes a long way, because we're all in senior living. And I doubt any of us got into this to be able to get rich. We probably got into it because, we care for older adults, or we had a great relationship with our grandparents, or whatever it is, but we're very thoughtful people. And I think when you think of creative follow-up or thoughtful follow-up, for us, it's really about building trust. It's one of the key steps in the sales process is building trust. And when you are able to say to somebody, hey, I hear you and see you for who you are. I understand what you're going through. It might not be easy, but I thought that this little gift or this really personalized note or whatever it is, this small token of gratitude for coming in and entrusting me with your story, just to be able to follow up with you to say, hey, I was listening. And I really appreciate what you told me. And it really meant a lot that you shared that with me, I think is an incredibly huge way to be able to impact the sales process. And so earlier this week or at the end of last week, actually, I saw something on LinkedIn and somebody had said, sales is about overcoming objections. And when I think about a key process in the sales, in these sales steps, it's not about overcoming objections. Maybe it's about understanding objections, but it's more about building trust. And creative follow-up is something that gets overlooked so often. And it is such a small thing that we can do that makes such a huge impact. And I think that when we, at Sherpa, we like to put things in numbers and be able to show you what the impact is. And when you look at, just the impact of creative follow-up on conversions, just doing a simple creative follow-up, which doesn't take much time, what it takes is mostly just listening and understanding somebody. You're able to increase your conversions from 22% to 37%. And last year, when we dug into the numbers a little more and we looked at what are the top 10% of Sherpa users do, they average 17 creative follow-ups a month. And so you think about that, my rule of thumb when I was a sales director was I always tried to do at least one creative follow-up for every tour I had. And so if you can do that, 17 as opposed to the median performers only did 5, that's such a small thing to be able to do. And it makes such a huge difference in the sales process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that. I think your perspective is right on. I know that Reed and I both sat on the other side, on the provider side, for many years before coming to service senior living from the vendor's perspective. And I know I would always have team members who say, I'm just not creative. I'm not creative. And so I can't do creative follow-up. And they really struggled to identify areas in which they could excel in that creative follow-up aspect, because they got stuck on, it has to be, I have to make a crossword puzzle that is specific to them, or I have to make, which is a great idea and fun and right for the right person, but maybe I have to go shopping for an hour to find the right gift for somebody. And that's not necessarily what creative follow-up is all about.
Yeah, Lacey, to that point, one of the best creative follow-ups I've ever seen in my entire career cost maybe $2.50 and about 10 minutes of time on Google. And it was a gentleman that had come in and toured, and he spoke Italian. And their creative follow-up to him was they wrote a thank you card for coming in and touring. And the first part of it was in English. And what they did was they just Googled how to say something in Italian. Like, I think it was, thank you, we hope to see you again soon. And the last part of the card was written in Italian. The card was 25 cents. The postage stamp was, whatever, 75 cents or $1, and the amount of time that it took to do that. And imagine what he must have felt when he got a card that was literally written in his own language. Mm-hmm. And if you want to make yourself stand apart from all of your competitors, and we all know they're everywhere these days, it seems like they're on, like Walgreens, there's one on every corner. How do you make yourself stand out in that process? Because at the end of the day, we all have the same amenities for the large part. We all have fantastic chefs and great activity programs, and the same thing that we tell every single tour that comes in, and they hear it every other place. But how do we make ourselves stand apart is to tell somebody, hey, I really listened to you and I understand who you are and where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So creative follow-up is certainly an area in which Avamere was able to leverage video to see positive outcomes. But Thomas, let's talk about some of the parameters that you had built into this case study in addition to creative follow-up. Where did you see video being used? What was successful about it? And I'm going to flip ahead as you talk to the next slide so that as you're talking about the how, people can also absorb all of the positive outcomes that you saw as well.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we kept it as simple as humanly possible, which is we expected our sales directors to do 4 a week, 4 videos, and then we would follow up that week. We put a prize at the end of it, which, sales directors, and there's many on this call, that gets everyone going. We're all naturally competitive, or most are. And we expected 4 a week, and then we followed up. We made sure that our team, we have a weekly sales call. It was agenda topic number 1 on those calls. And then on every Friday, we followed up with videos and just examples and successes of where it worked, and usually a story that went with it. And so we shared a lot of Kevin's videos. We shared Samantha's videos, and you'll hear why they were so successful. But really, the parameters weren't this grandiose plan. It was just a refocus on personalization. And then by us emphasizing it and just talking about it a lot, the results just really compounded really quickly for us.
Do you want to share some of those results?
Yeah, pretty good, right? I mean, 31% move-ins, we'll take that. 35% deposits. Creative follow-up went up 43% for us. Advances 21%, tours 37%, and then you see some of the closing metrics that went up as well. So what does this all mean? More time spent face-to-face with our customer, which is seniors, adult daughters, family members. And face-to-face, one day has been a tool that we've used even during the pandemic. We adopted it during the pandemic time, and it was imperative to it because, as we all know, if you've been doing this for a while, we couldn't see you face to face, or it was through a window. And so this is a tool that was emphasized during that time, and now we've carried it over to really a pre-tour, post-tour, and then advancing through, their cycle. So as we're connecting, untangling, and advancing, we're trying to find that time where we can get our face back in front of you, and as Reed said, know that we were listening. And so these results, I was ecstatic about them, and they've continued forward. Just to be clear, it wasn't just the premise of this; it really springboarded a lot of our directors into using One Day even more and more during their process.
Lacey, do you mind if I ask Thomas a question?
Yeah, I love it.
Gosh, we didn't script this. All right, come on, Reed, bring it.
All right, I'm throwing a loop here. Hey, so one of the questions I had is, why did you decide to focus on creative follow-up and video rather than give your teams permission to be able to offer discounts and concessions and everything like that?
Yeah, what we've seen is discounts and concessions, the old tricks of the trade, the ones that I used 13 years ago. It can work, but we have a great product. We don't need to discount the product. What we needed to do is leads started coming in January and February more and more. And what we were finding, looking through the Sherpa data and the analytics that would support it, we just needed more time with the people that have already inquired, right? I say any lead, the nice thing about our business is we're not cold calling. Everyone's engaged with us, has interest, right? They've called at some point, whether that's 6 months down the road, 2 years down the road, or today. There's interest. And so anyone that touches our pipeline is imperative and has a need to get some questions asked, and we can start connecting. And so to answer your question, Reed, it really was a no-brainer because we saw the leads coming back to us. It wasn't about closing in that fashion. If we get to know you better, we will close naturally a lot better on our team.
I love that. Very good question and response as well. Thomas, if you think about implementing this, we're going to talk about the specific community level, how they were able to really get this done and execute video throughout the sales process. But if you think from your perspective, for those that are attending today that are kind of at the home office level, regional level, and supporting a push of video that is embedded through the sales process, I mean, what tip, maybe what's your 1 or 2 tips to them?
Well, I don't know about anybody else, but we've rolled out so many programs and so many ideas, and Kevin and Samantha probably shaking their head at me. I mean, there's always something exciting coming in that I want to implement. Robots. I mean, there's all sorts of things from an innovative standpoint that I'm just super excited about. But when we focus our energy in an area and show our enthusiasm towards it, and also measure it and show the successes, again, it's not rocket science what we do. And so we try to focus in, after talking to Lacey, talking to my personal Sherpa, Susie, and Reed a little bit. It's like, okay, we have all these leads. It's going well. What should we do? And it was a no-brainer to just kind of focus on the area that was low-hanging fruit for us, which is just more creative follow-up. And so, from my level, you can't focus on 15 things at a time, or else they get lost the wayside, and there's not enough time in the day. And so a concentrated effort here really drove our success.
Appreciate that. Good insight. All right, we're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to talk about specific community examples, and we'll start with Sam. Samantha, you saw some pretty amazing results at your community. So let's talk about them. Amazing results. And I'm going to go ahead and advance the slide. But while I advance that, I would love to know more about how you were able to get to this point and your perspective of leveraging video in the sales process.
I truly believe that you build relationships. That's where these sales come from. You build relationships with the family. Like Reed said, you listen to what they have to say. And when you can incorporate that into a video, that reinforces the visit you just had. And from what I understand, other communities aren't doing it. And so that's something that they can send to their friends. They can send to family members across the country that couldn't be there on the tour. We can address very specific things that are of a concern to families. And it really, truly, it's a very bonding thing, because it gives the family an opportunity to retour and retour and retour. You know, they watch those videos again and again and again. So they're touring 4 or 5 times, and it took me 10 minutes to make a video.
Mm-hmm. Very good. You saw an 83% increase in videos. Talk to me about how you felt about video before really pushing and pursuing this, and maybe how you're feeling about it now.
Well, Thomas, you know, he was right. We're a little bit competitive in our sales team here, and I wasn't comfortable with technology. I'm not comfortable with technology. I'm a little bit older, and so the learning process. And once I got my words of affirmation, that's what I need. So I would send out these videos, and people would just, they couldn't believe how personalized they were, or how wonderful. You showed me exactly what I needed to see. So it really kind of boosted my self-esteem, where I was like, oh, okay, I don't stink at this. This is great. So I was able to just have fun. When I realized it was fun to make the videos and not complicated at all, that's where it drove me. And I was like, oh, I only have to do 4 a week. Well, I can whip out 4 and, you know, a day. And so I was doing way more, and it was just fun. I loved it.
Mm-hmm. So you went from not really feeling comfortable with technology and video to now cranking out videos left and right and actually feeling a little bit more comfortable. That speaks to, I think, a lot of us who are maybe a little apprehensive or nervous about being in front of the camera, and your willingness to try it yielded positive results from both anecdotally, right? You're hearing from families that this was important. And then you also had a little bit more confidence doing it as well. Is that right?
Yeah, I learned that it really, truly, it's not about me at all. It's about what I'm showing, the product that I'm showing, and it's about the things that I'm showing in my community. I'm showing the food that looks delicious. I'm showing the residents doing fun things. I'm showing all of the wonderful things that we have to offer. And I think, you know, when you're looking for memory care, it's sort of a different beast. But if you can make memory care seem it's fun. We have such a good time, and the love that we feel for these residents shows. And when it's a natural process, it really, truly is an amazing feeling for families to see that we love our residents. And it's actually amazing.
I love what Sam said there, though, Lacey, just real quick. I mean, we're all our own worst critic, right? That's why you have a headshot of me that you showed earlier from my wedding day like 9 years ago, right? I mean, we all are self-conscious. We all look at ourselves. We all think about ourselves, probably even too much. But what Sam's saying is so true. What you're showing, a lot of Sam's videos, as you will show, I mean, they're from the heart, and they're showing off the community and showing the love from our care staff. And that's what it's all about. And so we all feel it, but I'm glad she overcame it, because the results have proven themselves. So
I think when we look at it, and you look at the power of being vulnerable, you know, we oftentimes ask our prospects to be this open book and to be incredibly vulnerable with expressing to us, you know, the things that they are going through. And even maybe with memory care, it can be somewhat embarrassing to have to admit that, you know, either I can't take care of myself or my mom can't take care of herself anymore. And so we constantly ask these families to be vulnerable with us. And I think from a sales perspective, we have to allow ourselves to be vulnerable too. And one of my favorite quotes is, you know, the comfort, or your comfort zone is a great place to be, but nothing ever grows there. And Samantha, I know when we had talked on some of these prep calls for this, it was amazing to hear you kind of be vulnerable and to say, hey, I had to just step outside of my own comfort zone and say, listen, this isn't about me. This is about helping families. And if I can't be a little bit vulnerable and put myself out there, how am I expecting them to be?
Yeah, video is it's forever, when you're out there, it's forever. So it's you have to just step out of your comfort zone. And I think me waltzing in the dining room with a resident, I don't know how to waltz, but you know what? It doesn't matter. She did, and she taught me. So capturing that on video and being able to share that with people is just truly amazing. You can't script it. You can't do any of that. It's all just from the heart, for sure.
I love that. I love that. We're going to actually show a video that Sam has made, and you can tell that it comes directly from the heart. Sam, is it okay if we share a video of yours?
Which one?
Well, our team scoured through several, and they were all amazing. But we picked this one because I do think it is a way of showing how we have a connection with what we do. And so I'll share this, and we can talk a little bit about how Sam leveraged this video. Surprise, Sam.
Okay.
All right, I'll try to turn it up as loud as I can. You all may need to turn up your volume as well, because I don't know if I can get it as high as you'd like it to be.
Let's see what video.
Hi, Liz. I wanted to make sure that you had a face to put with the name when you come to visit me on Monday. I'm looking forward to talking to you and helping you. I just realized that my mother is staring over my shoulder right now. So I absolutely get what you're going through. And I want to do what's best to help you get your mom into a situation where you can go back to being her daughter and you feel comfortable with everything that's going on in the community. So I'm Samantha. I look forward to meeting you on Monday, and hopefully we can sit down and help you get things figured out and share a cup of tea. I look forward to meeting you. Have a great weekend. Bye.
That was not the video I was expecting.
Well, apparently there's more videos where that one came from, but what I loved about this was you showed your sweet mother, right? You have a personal connection. You want this prospect to get back to being a daughter because you yourself are an adult daughter who has a mother as well. And so you can relate to that. And I think what we want to share with those that are on this call today is that video is a powerful way of creating connections with others, right? And you showed that here today in that video. What are your thoughts on anything else you would share from that video or video in general?
I remember her sitting, I know who that video was for, of course, and they're moving in today. So yeah, it's an amazing thing, but I remember her saying that she loves tea, and that's me too. I have my tea station over here. So whenever anybody needs to just unload, we can do it over a cup of tea. And there she is. Yeah, there she is every day, because I have that connection. It's so imperative to go back to being a husband, or go back to being a daughter, going back to being a son. Those things are so important, and families are tired, and they realize that I can go back, I can come in and just love on my mother. And yeah, it's an amazing feeling to make that connection and watch their faces. It's amazing.
And you built that trust through that video when they saw that you two were a daughter that they could connect with. So read your itch and say something. I know you.
Yeah, no, I'm like beaming from that, because when we talk about building trust, everybody loves to talk about building trust and making connection and doing this and doing that. But rarely do we tell the people what to expect. And rarely do we state our intentions. And when you send that video out and you put that face to that and you say, hey, here's what to expect. I'm here to help. I'm here to do this. We can sit down and enjoy it over a cup of tea, which you knew she really enjoyed. How much that spoke to her and how amazing that was. And that's such a key step in building trust, so that she's comfortable when she comes in and visits you and feels like she might know you a little bit, and she at least knows your mom a little bit as well. So
when you walk into a community, you don't know the people you're going to see. You always see the receptionist, and but who's the market? Who am I supposed to talk to? Who, you know, and they see me, they've already seen me, they've already heard my voice. They already kind of know my personality because I'm a little carefree. I'm not so structured and scripted that they have to feel nervous. And I think that comes through in my videos.
Yeah, and it also, from staying your attention standpoint, it disarms the sales process, right?
Mhm.
Like you're dealing with a lot at home, especially Sam's sells a memory care community, but nobody wants to be sold to. They need some help and they have challenges that they need, obstacles that they need assistance with getting over that hump. And by stating your intentions, you're truly helping connect to them, but also not making them feel like you're coming in here and you're going to get, the discounts thrown at you and all these sales and specials and all the nonsense, like buying a car. This is way more personal than that. And so I love that video, Sam. You did a great
And
job.
it's personal for me. Everybody that comes through the door is
Right.
personal for me. And I want them to know that.
I
Absolutely.
think what I hear a consistent thread of authenticity without even anybody saying it. You were authentic in that video. You don't have to be flawless. You don't have to be wrinkle free. You don't have to look perfect. You don't have to sound a certain way. When it comes from the heart,
Yeah.
that is the most meaningful type of video that could be played. And
I'm not trying to sell cosmetics or hair products or things like that. That's
Right.
way past me, but memory care, I know.
Yeah. And that's what is heard and resonated, I think, in this video. Thank you, Sam, so much. I do want to emphasize her point of when they come in, they know who they're meeting with. I don't know about you, but at times when I have my furnace or air conditioner checked, they send me a picture of who's coming. I know in advance who's coming so that when I answer the door, like I'm not answering it to a stranger. And that's really nice. How often do we let people know who they're going to be meeting with when they tour our buildings, right? When we come to do a home visit at their house, right? Or the nurse comes out to do the assessment. A video is a really great way to create that authentic relationship ahead of time so that the relationship just goes from there. So thank you, Sam. I appreciate that. We're going to move and slide over to Kevin. You're in the hot seat, my friend. Welcome.
Do it. Good morning.
Yeah. I don't know if everybody knows this on the call, but you have become known as the master of video at Avamere. And I don't even know if you know that. It's a title recently dubbed to you. And I kind of want to know, what is your secret sauce? And while you share that, I want to show some of your outcomes so others can see it.
Okay, so in the intro, you mentioned I was a one-day convert, which means I wasn't already, I had to be converted. And when I started with the company, that was one of the things, and they had me put with a mentor and just try this video. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll get to it, right? I'm learning the job. So after a little while, I started doing it, and just making these one little videos and trying it out. And I'm not as camera shy as some other folks may be, but just putting yourself out there, for me, again, I'm not creative. So it was, what am I going to do? How am I going to make this? What's the content going to be? And so for me, it was just a matter of just finding. I started with post-tour follow-ups. So this is great because once I've had a tour, I've got the discovery. I know I've got personal information about them. I know kind of what their driving factors are. And a lot of times folks that come to us are not just touring us, they're touring, other communities in the area. This was a great way for me to reinforce Avamere. I'm the one with Avamere, and I was listening to let, for an example, if somebody comes in and they're talking, they want to bring their dog, it's very important to them. It's kind of an emotional support animal. I learn about that dog. And then I mention that in my videos, I'll say, hey, we're really excited to have you here. It looks like we're very pet friendly, and we've got a lot of dogs that I can't wait to meet your little Fluffy and, dog's name is it. And that is something that I got a lot of response from. They would call back. Then I was like, okay, so that worked. So then I started, how else can I use this? So I started making little videos and for me, it was finding what is my need. And then I create a video to that need. So we use a place for mom, or, everybody has referral sources. And when those leads come in, we're not just getting them, everybody in the area is getting them. So I wanted a way to help differentiate myself. So when leads come in, I always start with an initial call, but 90% of the time I never get a call back, or I never make that connection. So I immediately send a one-day video. And I find I have the option of sending by email or text. I always start with text if it's going to be if it's not the actual resident, but a family member, or something, so they're going to get that. You see an email from Avamere, you may or may not, it's in your feed, but you get a text, you're going to more likely, if there's somebody sent me a video on text with my name on it, I'm probably going to click it. So I found that to be a great way to get them to get that initial call. Call me back. Hey, my name is Kevin. I'm with Avamere. I just wanted to take a few minutes to get a little more information about so-and-so so that I can create a custom proposal for you and maybe invite you to come in for a tour. That kind of set the stage of what, not off high pressure, and they're seeing an actual person. I am Avamere to that person at that point. And so that became a great tool for me. So that helped me, or if I've talked to people and over the phone and haven't quite got them to come in for a tour, I use a one-day video. Or if I've toured with somebody and it's been a month and I haven't heard from them, I'll do a one-day video. Because I find that even if by text or email, even if it's an email, I saw a stat where it's like over 200% increase in them clicking on the video. If they watch it, they're going to connect with me. I've had people kind of ghost me in the past. If things happen, mom and dad, things have changed, we put the on hold or whatever, at least they call me and give me an update as to what's going on. And then I can provide more options. Well, da 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 da. So one day this has become my primary creative follow-up tool. When we did the contest, they were saying 4 videos a week, and I'm like, I'm already averaging like 30 videos a month, so I'm doing a little bit more than that. Again, it's a simple platform. I can create a video. I got a little stand that sits above my monitor. I can knock out a video, and for me, it's consistency too. It's making sure that you're doing it on a regular basis, because again, the first month or so I used it, I was still kind of, how am I going to do this? Once I kind of found my voice, then I used it as, instead of just creating it and putting it out, hoping I get something, I found specific case uses that worked for me. And then now I can do the videos, kind of have subconsciously created a couple templates in my brain of what type of video I'm going to send. I even use it for social media. At the beginning of the month, every month there's some sort of holiday or whatever. So let's say it was 4th of July. I did a 2-minute 4th of July video. I found some quotes and, pro-America and stuff like that. And I sent it to a marketing. They put it up on Facebook. It got huge engagement. And it's creating mind share out there. So it's a very useful, versatile tool for me. And, making the connections, establishing trust. All those things that Samantha said, it works.
I think you're saying finding your voice. That's really important. Once you can find your voice in the videos, your videos are way different than mine. But mine is my voice and yours is your voice.
And that's exactly the thing. When I first started, I was writing out notes and an outline of what I wanted to cover. And then I'm looking down and that comes out on video. But then I just relax. It doesn't have to be perfect. As a matter of fact, it's actually a little bit better if it's not perfect, because then it comes off as authentic. I'll sit in my office, I have a little, sometimes if it's a little, I'll just put it on my phone and just be like this. Hey, here's the video. I have a person that if they're out of state and they want to take a look at an apartment, I can do a walkthrough on an apartment. I do for outreach, I do a featured apartment every the month. So I'll do a walkthrough, a 2-minute walkthrough of an apartment, and then put that in with a letter and send it out to all my outreach contacts or my lost leads or future prospects that I'm not having, my future prospects. I'll send a video once a month, just so that even if they don't respond or send it, I'm still here. If you need something, let me know. So I think get used to the platform and then find ways that you think it'd be useful to you, and then just run with it. And again, I can do, it takes 5 minutes maybe to record and post a video, depending on my internet connection sometimes. But it's just another way. All salespeople know how to email. All salespeople know how to make phone calls. This is just another quiver in my arsenal to make that connection, establish trust. So that's how I've used it.
I love when Kevin says, and it's been sticking with me since he said it a couple weeks ago, but it doesn't have to be perfect, right? I mean,
Right.
but this isn't, social influencer Kardashian campaigns we're doing here. These are
Exactly.
personalized approach to our prospects, to family members, and it's even better when it's not perfect, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little shake in the camera when you're walking through an apartment, but you're talking through it and you're telling them what you're looking into. I think that, I mean, I can't emphasize that enough to anyone who's listening right now. And I say it to our team all the time, just do them. They're going to get better naturally over time, like anything else, like riding a bike, but keep doing it and you're going to come off even more and more engaging. But I love when you say that, Kevin. It always sticks with me.
As far as practice, you can just make videos. You don't necessarily have to send them to anybody, or send them to people that you are colleagues or friends or family. Hey, what do you think of something like this? Find your voice. Use a planning session, with your team. Create a couple videos and show someone. It's putting yourself out there. But when we do tours, we don't think about how we're going to be, perceived with tours and per se, what my hair looks like. What am I going to say? Because we know we do tours. We have kind of a process when we do our tours. You find your voice. It's the same thing. It's just another way. The person is just not in front of you. You act like you would or speak like you would when they're in front of you. It's going to come across.
Kevin, you have fantastic hair, by the way.
You do.
Thank you very much. It's a little shiny today, but
Oh,
That's
perfect.
great.
I actually love that you mentioned planning sessions, and Reed, maybe there's conversation that can happen here as well. When I was on the provider side and we used Sherpa at my previous organization, we had a set amount of planning sessions we were trying to achieve because we knew that the more we planned and strategized for these prospects, the higher likelihood they would be of advancing down the funnel and ultimately moving in with us. And so we always strive to have, right, a creative follow-up for every planning session that we did that was formalized planning session, right? Time set apart to really plan for that prospect. Reed, what's your advice to those that are sitting through planning sessions and creative follow-up and all that good stuff?
Yeah, a couple of things. One thing I just wanted to kind of make a point real quick before we forgot about is you guys have mentioned trust a lot. And so when we look at trust, there's really three key things that go into building trust. The first thing is being empathetic. And what I love to hear, nobody has said I'm empathetic, but what I've heard quite a bit is being your authentic self. And that's part of being empathetic, is being yourself, and really being able to put yourself out there and really being authentic, and that these videos don't have to be perfect. Your creative follow-up doesn't have to be perfect. Your tour doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, when some of real life things happen during some of those, I think it just humanizes you. The second part about that is stating your intentions. And we talked about that with Samantha. And the third part of that is demonstrating your commitment. And it's demonstrating your commitment to what you told them you were going to do. So when you talk about sending that pre-tour video, which I absolutely love, I think that is an amazing idea because it allows you to connect, that when they come in, when you're just as authentic as you were on that video, and it really truly isn't about the sales process, you've demonstrated your commitment, and you guys have really taken huge strides in really building trust and being somebody that they can trust throughout that process, which is, I think, incredible in the senior living sales kind of universe. But I think even more, particularly when you're talking about memory care. And you're talking about trying to build that trust with those family members that are really reaching out because they have no idea what to do. So I just wanted to mention that. Lacey, to your point, I think when we talk about doing planning sessions, the outcome for every single planning session that you do should be in advance. So when you do a planning session, your ultimate goal should be, we're coming out of this with a plan for how do we advance this person in the pipeline. And I saw somebody put a question in about focusing on the pipeline and not just your quick leads. I was just on a call before this and somebody referred to that as new money. And she said, my sales teams are so focused on new money. The interesting thing is that we see is that the average sales process lasts at least 6 months with most companies that we look at. And that's memory care, independent living, assisted living. Some are a little bit longer, some are a little bit shorter. But investing that time and understanding that, hey, most of these people are not going to move in next week. Most of them are not going to move in this week. This is a journey that we are on with these people. And so throughout that journey, there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be times where, Kevin, you said they're ghosting me, but realizing that might not have anything to do with us
Exactly.
at all. It might have to be with whatever they're going through with mom or dad, and not giving up on them throughout that process and just moving on to the new lead because it's the new shiny penny and we think they're going to move in right away. But it's about investing your time and doing those creative follow-ups. If I can't get out to do a home visit because maybe they live in another state, or they live in another city and I just can't get there, can I connect with them on video? So that even though they're not, it's not just another voicemail, it's not just another text message or email, they're seeing me and how authentic I am and really understanding that I want to help them through this process, whether they move to our community or not, because I'm a resource and I'm an expert. And so if we can sit down and plan and come up with how do we move them down the pipeline, whether it's a creative follow-up, a home visit, we have them come back in, or maybe they have a family member that hasn't been in a tour. How do we move them forward in that process? We'll keep that pipeline consistently moving.
Yeah, and Reed, just to follow up on that point too, I think planning sessions, everyone thinks they do them, right? So there's a lot of sales meetings, there's stand up where you get your 10
We
seconds of
talked in the hall, their office is right next to me.
yeah, everyone,
Time.
some of my communities have 75 planning sessions in a month. And the ones that do 25 really good ones have had consistent results regardless of the worst of times during the pandemic or as we're, I guess, out of it. I don't want to be speculative on that front, but it's the ones that truly meet and talk about the prospect journey and come up with ways to advance, and truly get the whole team involved. I'd rather see 20 good ones than 100 meetings. And we have a lot of meetings and they take up a lot of time, but the ones that invest in it, and luckily for Sam and also for Kevin, they have EDs that are truly invested in their success. And they talk a lot about their prospects and talk a lot about how can I help as the executive director, but how can we support as a community Sam's sales efforts or Kevin's efforts with Aaron, his executive director there. So I just want to highlight that point. Sales meetings are important. You get to talk about sales and all the cool things happening and do a lot of high fives in the room. We're talking about really digging into the prospect journey so we can truly help them and advance them, really on their timeline, not ours, right?
Yeah, 30, if you do 30 planning sessions in a month, that's amazing. If you do 30 planning sessions that last 15 minutes each, you're really able to dig in. If you do 60 that are 2 minutes a piece, you're really just going a mile wide and an inch deep. You're not really discovering anything.
Right.
So it's a lot better to be able to take the time to work fewer leads, but spend more time with them than it is to be able to just kind of skim across the surface of everybody.
Really great dialogue, really great. I'm going to actually show one of Kevin's, since he is the one-day champion here. I am going to show one of his videos here so that we can also get to some of the questions and answers questions that have come in, and y'all will be providing the answers here in just a bit. So without further ado, let's go ahead and show Kevin's awesome follow-up video.
Hey Tammy, this is Kevin Fortier with Avamere out in Wenatchee. I just wanted to see how things are going with Jimmy. I know that he was still kind of going through the rehab process. It's been a couple weeks since we talked, so I just wanted to see if you guys are ready to start looking at some either independent or assisted living options. If so, please give me a call back. The number is 509-306-5957, or you can simply respond to this email. Thank you.
It's simple. It doesn't take a lot of time. It's a quick video to show who you are, show connection, create that connection, and maintain the relationship. I appreciate everybody's feedback on this. I'm actually stop sharing my screen so we can see everybody's face a little bit closer. But I do want to ask Sam and Kevin one last question before we get into the questions that have come in from the guests here on this call. What advice would you give to somebody who is hesitant to use video, hasn't used it before, and they're in the community saying, I either don't have time for this, or I do not want to be on camera? What advice would you give to them?
Just do it. Just start. Once you start it, it sort of becomes addicting. It really is easier easier than you think and more fun than you think, because trying to come up with something different, I want to come up with something different than Kevin does. So there's a whole lot of variety of things you can do. Just do it.
And, for me, I know some people have a hard time seeing themselves on camera. Well, lately we have these little things that we can put on our face. And so I did my first couple videos with this. So I was just focusing more on the content than my face and how I was looking. So just do some videos. Again, you don't have to send them to anybody. You don't have to, you are your own worst critic. So make a couple videos, get a couple trusted people in the building, show it off, see what they think. 9 times out of 10, they're not going to say anything about you and your appearance. They're going to talk about the content, because that's really what these videos are about. But once you kind of get past that, then it's just making the videos and finding great ways to use them. Not everybody's going to use them the same way, not everybody's going to make the same type of content. If I tried to recreate one of Samantha's things, it probably wouldn't work as well because I'm not her, or vice versa. So find your voice, just commit to yourself. Okay, I want to start using one day. I'm going to make one video a day for 14 days. Then I'm going to sit down, I'm going to review them all, just get used to the process. And then out of those 14, find your favorite one and send it out. Customize it, make it towards somebody authentic, and go from there. You'll start to develop some templates in your head, and then you're just pulling those out and finding use case scenarios.
I think those are great nuggets of advice. I think anybody listening to this is thinking, okay, now I could maybe just give it a try. You're all saying just go and do it. I think with one day, hopefully you found that there were a lot of options. One, there's a call to action link that sends them directly to schedule a tour if you want. 2, you can record on the web, you can record directly on your desktop, or you can record on your cell phone, right? And so having some of those options are really helpful. But one other option I think is important to discuss, which is, did you find better luck texting a video, or did you find better luck emailing the video? I'm curious. What was your experience, Sam and Kevin?
Texting. I sent it.
We had a question pop in that said, are people hesitant to click on the link? Did you experience?
I mean, when I send videos out, and one day, that's one of the things, one day we'll tell you when they've opened the email or, opened the text or something like that. Then right after that, they'll tell you if it's played the video. I guarantee you, it's very rare that I'll get an email or a notification that says I've opened the email without having the one right after it showing they played the video. I mean, if somebody texted me a video with my name on it, and I know I've reached out to Avamere already, and I'm going to click on that. Or if I open a video with my name and a video just for me, I could not click on it. So it has been, I don't know the exact numbers, but there's a better than 50% chance that if I text somebody, I'm going to get a response within a day or 2.
And we've also,
Oh, just real quick, Caroline, I mean, probably similar to anybody here, you get like 8 million emails a day, right? I have to change my personal email like every 6 months because they get cluttered with nonsense. And so it's got to be text, but it's also how you present it too. I mean, you can take the link right out of it and say, this is a video, this is a video from me, Kevin, who you just met with. I mean, there's ways to make it really personal, and One Day does a really good job of doing it that way as well. So both work, but texting is the primary source for our company.
What we found too, analyzing over 150,000 of our most recent videos, is that click-through rate with video is significantly higher than that without video. So if we think about an email marketing campaign, we might see a click-through rate, if we're lucky, of 3 to 4%, right? With video included, whether it's text or email, we see a 73% click-through rate with video. So significantly higher. And Kevin, I've heard you say, if I send a video with One Day, I know that it doubles my chances, more than doubles my chances of getting a call back from them. And so I think that there's definitely fruit to that. I wanted to address Bill's question really quickly that had come in earlier. I know, Reed, you touched on it, but Bill's question was, we're seeing an influx of like bluebirds, those that are ready to go within 15 days. And so my team is so focused on getting those deposits and helping those folks because they have an emergent need. How do we make time for all of these other prospects that maybe just need a little bit more time? They're not bad leads, but we just don't have the time for them because we're so focused here. Thomas, Reed, you want to take take the ball on that one?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Reed.
Yeah, I'll chime in first and I'll let Thomas go. Bill, you're not alone in that. When we look across the Sherpa universe, so to speak, and we work with, from a training standpoint, I work with people that not only use our CRM, but also don't use our CRM. We're certainly seeing an influx in that over the last year with more and more people doing that. I would say, I would caution two things. One is that when you start to really rely on that, and when you start to focus on those things, I think it's really, what it leads to is it leads to higher acuity residents moving in, which is a drain on your operations side of things as well. It increases staff burnout. It certainly increases when you have to have more move-ins because you're having more move-outs because it's shorter term stay. And when we talk about assisted living or even independent living and memory care, you're already talking about a really small window of typically less than 24 months that somebody's going to live there. But when you start to raise the bar and start to move in people with higher acuity, that starts to drop even more. And so there's an operational drain on that. The other side of it is that as salespeople, sometimes we get accustomed to doing things a certain way. And if we start to rely on those folks, then what we do is we leave an entire database full of people that aren't being worked through the funnel. And so we're leaving those folks open for our competitors to be able to work them. And just because they're not ready right now doesn't mean that they're not going to be ready in 6 months. And really what we see is the fruits of our labor that we do now start to pay off down the road. So even though, and I'd be curious to know your opinion, Thomas, because I don't work on the provider side every single day, but what we see is that when, obviously you guys had a big influx right away and it made a huge difference. But my question to you, Thomas, about this was, you had mentioned earlier that you guys have kept this going now. So what has that consistency done for your sales over this last 6 months as compared to maybe the 6 months before when you weren't focused on these things?
Yeah, again, it comes down to time in the selling zone and staying engaged with our prospects. And I could go on quite a long rant, but I know we're on short time. But we, as a traditional industry, pummel our sales team with a bunch of stuff that doesn't truly involve sales, right? We give them advertising things to do. We do, a huge outreach plan, all of these things, marketing initiatives, move-in paperwork, assessments even, right? Block out the noise. If our team stays in the selling zone, which creative follow-up's a huge piece of that, we've seen consistent success, right? And what does that mean? If we can block out the noise on the other stuff that takes up Sam's time and Kevin's time and truly invest in, you should have enough time to keep your pipeline moving while new leads are coming in. If we do a poor job of that, that's when leads go to the wayside. And everyone does it. Shiny new leads come in all the time. Kevin and Sam know when we get one, they get an email from me. It's like, go for it, go get them. And I get all excited about it. But then we look at the pipeline and we have 150 people in it. I mean, I have one community that has over 1,300 leads in it, right? And so
tasks do they have?
What's that?
I said, and how many past due tasks or
yeah, exactly.
The next step do they have?
It's a monster to stay on top of it, right? And so if we can, as an industry, have our sales team focus more and more on the things that truly produce sales, we should have time to do a one-day video and engage with a brand new tour coming through the front door. If we do a poor job of that, we end up creating all this time that should be spent one-on-one with prospects and hopefully face-to-face with them using one day or just in person with a home visit or tour. So, that's my advice to the group here and anyone listening is try to block out as many things in their way or put technology in place. We just brought on Senior Sign, put technology in place that makes it faster for them so they can get back to the things that actually lead to true outcomes for us.
I love that. Clear the tracks so they can go and do what they are best at doing. Thank you so much to our lovely panelists here from Sherpa and Avamere Communities. This is a wrap for today. For those of you who are on the call or registered for the call today, you will get here by the end of today, I believe, the link to this recording as well as the Avamere case study jointly partnered with Sherpa. So thank you again for your participation and we'll see you at the next webinar. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.